So, but doesn't it seems to me, at least from the outside, and TK, you're on the ground. I mean, there's multiple offers all over the place. Like, doesn't it seem like the market has absorbed these rates? Like, people are making these offers assuming that they can close the deals. I'm thinking, at least the majority of them are, right? So they must either have a bunch of cash or enough cash and able to make the payments on these crazy monthly payments at 5.5%, 6% on these houses. So has the market actually like just like absorbed these rates and chugged along? Like, is what's going to stop the market from going up now?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking
Oh,
anybody. I don't
okay.
know that fucking answer. That's for sure. Remember me? I'm the dumb guy in the room.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of people that stayed on the sidelines all last year, and a lot that couldn't get in 21, 22. So I think they're the ones that are jumping in. There's still money out there. We've talked about that before. There's still lots of people with money out there that want to get into the market,
But
and the
these are
rates
this,
really haven't affected them.
but it's money with high paying jobs and like a big enough down payment, or it's people with like a bunch of cash so that the
Mine,
payments can be affordable.
from what I've seen, is high paying jobs, right? If you're a couple, you're making 140,000 a year. I know most people don't make that, but there's lots that couldn't get in
Each,
during the height. No,
each
total. Say
total.
total.
That's a
Total.
high income now for a household.
I live in London,
Right. Okay.
right?
Sorry.
So
That
let's say
makes a
let's
big
say
difference. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So let's say in London 2 years ago, even or at the height,
I
140
live in
grand,
London.
you
Well,
weren't
price
getting
point
in.
there, that's a good
Yeah.
income to
Big.
qualify. Yeah.
Yeah. Big
That's a
difference.
decent income, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
even with that income, you weren't getting in at the beginning of 2022.
Mm.
Really.
140K now, I mean, you that'll get you higher than the average price.
Yeah.
So that is a good income now, and that is a good buying power. So they are jumping in because
Wow.
they
And
waited out.
people's financial situation, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I assume, is the majority of their savings is going towards their down payment.
Yeah,
Like they're really trying to take on as the least amount of debt as possible. So they're putting up all the cash they really can, maybe a little bit of a rainy day fund.
yeah,
And then they're just like, I'm going to make those payments every single month because I have this job.
Another
yeah.
reason to look for a turnkey house as well, because you've
Yeah.
got nothing left for anything.
There's nothing left for anything else.
Not even a
Yeah.
sofa.
So, that changes things too. And I think one thing that people are overlooking is just the effective rates. I mean, we know it's 12 to 18 months, right? Before we see the full effect. The effective people right now, like you had said, hearing the most recent announcement, let's say they're on a adjustable rate, let's say they need to renew, whatever it is, their mindset changes. They don't go out and eat as much. They don't want to go and buy a car. They don't want to go and do the spending that they thought. Maybe some people who were planning
Look
on moving
around.
aren't. We have 40% less people moving right now. There's less people moving.
Yeah.
But there's people
So
out everywhere all the
there's
time.
less listings though. So that's the thing. Oh, you mean
They're
and
out
and the
spending
public
money.
spending
Like, do
money.
you think people are
But that
not spending?
changes though. There's
When?
maybe some
When?
people aren't
When?
affected, but there's a group of people who are definitely affected. And I believe that this takes years to be able to work through the system. And I think that it's really early still when it comes to how much impact these rate hikes have had on the economy and on homeowners. That's my opinion.
So, but the same thing, the same question is what stops prices from going up right now? Like more interest rate, like another quarter point. You really think that's going to change the sentiment around here? Oh boy, now they're really serious now. It's another quarter point. Like we've had bazookas blown in our faces at short range. And yeah, like it slowed things down a little bit. Market came down, but like it doesn't seem like anything changed around here. How many offers on your last listing over the last couple of days, TK?
I sold a condo. It had two offers.
Two offers on a condo. Where's the
Yeah,
condo?
Scarborough Town Center.
Right. Like, okay, so that's good action. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
More than one person willing
40
to buy it
showings.
on the first day. Right.
Yeah.
So like, and you didn't price it super low. You
It was
said you were
probably
pricing it right.
yeah. It's just and it was a dump too. So it was like, the place needed like the whole thing had to be changed over. It was tenanted and there was crayons on the walls from the kids and different things like that. It was a seller, it was definitely looking to get the property sold, like it wasn't one of those situations where people were really financially happy and everything was going great. And they thought, oh, it's just a good time to divest. So I think that the people who are selling who are in trouble are getting bailed out by the market again. That's what I'm seeing.
Right.
They're getting bailed out. And maybe it's not bailing them out as much as they'd like, but it's enough to be able to kind of get them through what needs to happen and how their life is going to change afterwards, because the worst case scenario didn't happen. That's 100% sure. The worst case scenario did not happen. And I bet you on all the new construction stuff that we're going to start seeing having to close soon, the banks and or the builders will all find a solution to make this work.
Yeah. Did you see the builder in BC? Their new plan? Apparently, it's not a new plan out there. Okay. They offered to do. You put like two deposits of $5,000. These are for a new townhouse. Okay, 2 deposits of $5,000, and then when you get occupancy, you start paying a fixed amount that counts as your deposit or your down payment for a year. So they split up your down payment over a year, and they count it every month as like your rent and your down payment
contribution. Yeah.
And then I imagine in a year from now, they're going to have to lend you the money for the mortgage too, so you can afford the down payment.
Well, that's right? Exactly. Those are the ones that are just selling now. I'm talking about the ones that sold in 2022, where we're having all those issues, right?
Yeah,
where
you're going to see
the builders
VTBs,
were,
crazy
sitting in the media there. Those guys there are going to find solutions to be able to get those people in their homes. They'll find a lender. They'll say, okay, you have to go with RBC, and this is what the product is. And there's going to be a co-ownership agreement. There's going to be a second mortgage. There's going to be something that the developers come up with.
I saw something interesting yesterday. It was a interesting solution from a developer well, I guess they're not going to close these units. Did you see the fire in Vaughan yesterday? Did you hear about that, Mark?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Brand new
fire,
like unbelievable rager in a bunch of new houses being built. And these are like, they're like 2 million plus, these houses. So
yeah.
High probability that people were going to have a tough time closing these things if they did get finished anytime soon. So the timing is impeccable.
I don't think it would have been the developer, because I think the developer's got too much to lose. But think about it. You're a buyer. Your life is about to be ruined.
You think one of the buyers lit the place up?
Of course I do. I told you there's a solution for everything. The buyer's like, man, I can't close on this. Look, nobody's there. It's the middle of the night. No one's going to get hurt.
TK. Somebody's going to think this is a great idea now.
This is going to cost me so much money. My wife is going to leave me. Oh my God. I better just go over there late at night. Honey, I'm sleeping.
Honey, I'm going for a cigarette. I'll be right back.
Right?
Think about it with the jerry can.
Why are you wearing all that
and these
black?
things, Mark, went up in flames.
It was pretty quick.
I can't believe you didn't see it.
It's like it was like a bonfire, like, at a campsite.
Insanity.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all just wood framed houses, right? It's just crazy.
Wow.
So anyways, we'll get to the bottom of that, I guess, eventually.
Yeah.
So how else, your last video there, you're talking about rates higher for longer. What else did the Bank of Canada say in their announcement? What else were they leading towards?
It was the higher for longer. They were questioned about the government, whether or not government spending was
inflationary.
It was inflationary, and they kind of dodged the question. And
why would someone ask that question? Like, why would they be asking the Bank of Canada that question?
I'm guessing for the headline.
Right? No, hold on a sec. No, it's not for the headline.
You don't think that's why they ask?
No, it's because the government's pumping money into a system that the Bank of Canada is trying to remove money from, right? So they're fighting against each other. It's like, what are you fucking assholes doing? We're trying to lower inflation, and you're giving these idiots more money, and it's like a two-headed monster that doesn't agree with itself, right?
I agree. But you watch these reporters and they ask these questions like, they're not going to answer the question.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the guy's posturing for attention.
Exactly. Because he's not going to go against the government. The headline's going to be Tiff Macklem says Trudeau's spending us into the poorhouse, right? That's what the reporter wants, but he's not going to give it to you. So it's funny watching their faces, because it's like a little battle between them and the reporters when we all know what's really going on, right?
Yeah.
Right,
It's like
that's
it's like
the
the guy in
thing.
the radio show when he calls into like the call checker. He's like, yeah. I'm just, I'm supporting, the fact that, traffic is going to be improved in the downtown core. And they're like, oh, let's let this guy on the air. But then when he gets on the air, he's like, you
Yeah.
screw you.
Penis, penis.
That's what happens with the reporters. They're like, yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna supportive question for sure. But he
Yeah.
comes in there with it swinging, right?
And then he asks whether or not the wage increases are going to be inflationary. That's what the other reporter asked. And
The
again,
wage increases, yeah.
yeah, like that, because the CRA is going on strike and all the unions, right? There's major wage demands, obviously.
Government workers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, they're not going to answer the question, but they still go at him for it. So it's entertaining to watch these things, I find.
So what about Stephen Poloz? I don't know how you say it. Paulos?
Poloz.
Yeah.
Stephen P, the ex Bank of Canada chief, right? Isn't that
Yep.
who he is? Yeah.
Yep.
So he was just interviewed this week and he was like, Bank of Canada's for sure going to be reducing rates by the end of the year. Like they're going to have no choice. Did you see that?
But he's in
I
the
saw that
private
headline. I
sector.
didn't read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't trust anybody when they go into the private sector. There's billions of dollars that people have to make, so when they come out, anybody who says anything about the market, when I see that they lead like a hedge fund or something, I'm like, whatever, like they need
where do
to-
you think he started before he was the chief of the Bank of Canada? You think he was like just working at Metro or something?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say though is a lot of them
He was
worked in Bank of Canada jobs for years before they get there. But the main thing is like anybody who, it's just pumping. It's like a realtor pumping the market on YouTube. You can't trust those guys. Come on, seriously.
Who
They got
can
too
you
much to
trust now?
Who
Other
can you
than Mark
trust?
Mitchell. Mark Mitchell,
Right?
you
Mark
can
Mitchell.
trust, right?
Go to
But
his
listen,
channel.
Right.
but this is the thing, okay? So you may trust me or Mark or TK or anybody else on YouTube, and we may think we know something based on the data we're looking at. But the
Yeah.
honest to God truth is, do any of us even trust the data anymore? Like, how do I know I make predictions and they're not based on data at all. They're based on like being in touch with the market, talking to TK every couple of days, talking to guys like you, like being in tune with the actual market. Because when I talk to TK, I get a totally different story than I see on certain channels. And then if I go on TikTok, well, holy cow, there's a whole other world going on over there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how does anybody make a decision now to do anything really but to like buy $1 million+ something house or condo that won't be ready for years at rates that we don't know if they're going up or down? We can't trust anybody. Like, how the fuck do you guys, I mean, I don't advise anybody, right? How do you guys do this?
I mean, you lay out the facts, right? And you say, but ultimately, my crystal ball works as well as yours does. So
Right.
I always say it's got to fit the budget and you have to like the home. If you don't, then that's a major risk, right? It's always a risk no matter what you do. So